Ecological progress. A better environment for a beautiful China. April 2nd, 2013. Main points of the speech at a voluntary tree planting activity in Beijing. We need to strengthen publicity and education and carry out new activities to get more people to plant trees. We will protect forests in accordance with the law, persistently carry out this campaign, and make it more effective. This will create a better environment for completing the building of a moderately prosperous society in all respects, and realizing the Chinese dream of national rejuvenation. Our tree planting campaign was launched more than 30 years ago. It has boosted the recovery and development of China's forest resources and increased public awareness of the importance of tree planting and environmental protection. However, we must recognize the fact that China is still an ecologically vulnerable country with a scarcity of forest resources and faces a long-term and arduous mission of afforestation and ecological improvement. Forests are the mainstay and an important resource for the land ecosystem. They are also an important ecological safeguard for the survival and development of mankind. It is hard to imagine what would happen to the earth and human beings without forests. Our party raised a requirement to build a beautiful China at its 18th National Congress. The whole of society should enhance its ecological awareness and strengthen environmental protection in accordance with this requirement, so as to build China into a country with a good environment. Usher in a new era of ecological progress. May 24th, 2013. Main points of the speech at the 6th Group Study Session of the Political Bureau of the 18th CPC Central Committee, which she presided over. Our efforts for ecological conservation and environmental protection will benefit future generations. We must be aware that it is a pressing and difficult task to protect the environment and control pollution, and that it is important and necessary to advance ecological progress. We must take a responsible attitude towards our people and future generations. Be resolute in controlling environmental pollution. Strive to usher in a new era of ecological progress and improve the environment for our people to live and work in. Ecological progress is of vital importance to the future of the nation and the well-being of its people. The 18th National Congress of the CPC listed ecological progress along with economic, political, cultural, and social progress as the 5 goals in the overall plan for the cause of Chinese socialism, vowing to promote ecological progress to build a beautiful China and achieve lasting and sustainable development of the Chinese nation. To promote ecological progress, we must comprehensively implement the guiding principles of the party's 18th National Congress and take Deng Xiaoping's theory, the important thought of the three represents, and the scientific outlook on development as our guide. We must raise awareness of the need to respect, protect, and accommodate ourselves to nature. Follow the basic state policy of resource conservation and environmental protection, and give high priority to conserving resources, protecting the environment, and promoting its natural restoration. We must dedicate ourselves to raising our ecological awareness, enhancing relevant systems, safeguarding ecological security, and improving the environment. We must preserve our geographical space and streamline our industrial structure, our mode of production, and our way of life in the interest of resource conservation and environmental protection. We must strike a balance between economic growth and environmental protection, and bear in mind that protecting the environment equates to protecting productivity, and that improving the environment also equates to developing productivity. We will be more conscientious in promoting green, circular, and low carbon development. We will never again seek economic growth at the cost of the environment. It is through land use that ecological progress can be advanced. Maintaining a balance between population, resources, and the environment, and promoting economic, social, and ecological efficiency. We will determine an overall plan for developing our land and allot space to production, to daily life, and to ecological development as appropriate, in order to leave more space for nature's self-restoration. We will accelerate the work of functional zoning, follow the functional definitions of different areas where development must be optimized, prioritized, restricted, or forbidden, and delimit and strictly enforce ecological red lines. We will work out appropriate plans for urbanization, agricultural development, and ecological security to safeguard national and regional ecological security, and improve services for ecological conservation. We must fully understand the importance of enforcing ecological red lines. Any violations regarding environmental protection will be punished. Resource conservation is a fundamental way to protect the environment. We will conserve resources and use them efficiently, bring about a fundamental change in the way resources are utilized, increase conservation efforts in all respects, and drastically reduce the consumption of energy, water, and land resources per unit of GDP. We will vigorously develop a circular economy to reduce waste and resource consumption, reuse resources, and recycle waste in the process of production, distribution, and consumption. We will launch major projects to restore the ecosystem and increase our capacity for producing eco-friendly products. A sound ecological environment is the basic foundation for the sustainable development of humanity and society. The public are greatly concerned about the environment, so we should place emphasis on serious environmental problems that pose health hazards to the people, and take a holistic approach to intensifying the prevention and control of water, air, and soil pollution, with the focus on water pollution in key river basins and regions, and on air pollution in key industrial sectors and areas. We must have the strictest possible institutions and legislation in place in order to guarantee ecological progress. To do this, we should first of all improve the evaluation norms for economic and social development to include resource consumption, environmental damage, ecological benefits, and other indicators that can be used to assess ecological improvement and use them to direct and shape our ecological work. We will establish an accountability system and call to account officials whose ill-judged decisions have caused serious ecological damage. We will increase publicity and education on the need to promote ecological progress, raise public awareness of the need to conserve resources and protect the environment, and foster a social atmosphere of cherishing our environment. Leave to our future generations blue skies, green fields, and clean water. July 18th, 2013. Letter of congratulations to the Eco Forum Annual Global Conference, Guiyang, 2013. On behalf of the Chinese government and people, and in my own name, I would like to extend congratulations on the opening of the Eco Forum Annual Global Conference, Guiyang, 2013, and a warm welcome to heads of state and government, United Nations officials, experts, scholars, business leaders, and all other distinguished guests at this conference. Building eco-civilization, green transformation and transition, green industry, green urbanization, and green consumption-led sustainable development is the theme of this conference. It reflects the shared interest of the international community in promoting ecological progress. I am convinced that the achievements made by the participants at this conference will make a useful contribution to protecting the global environment. Ushering in a new era of ecological progress and building a beautiful China is an important element of the Chinese dream. China will respect and protect nature and accommodate itself to nature's needs. It will remain committed to the basic state policy of conserving resources and protecting the environment. It will promote green, circular, and low-carbon development and promote ecological progress in every aspect of its effort to achieve economic, political, cultural, and social progress. China will also develop a resource-efficient and environmentally friendly geographical layout, industrial structure, mode of production, and way of life, and leave to our future generations a working and living environment of blue skies, green fields, and clean water. Protecting the environment, addressing climate change, and securing energy and resources is a common challenge for the whole world. China will continue to assume its due international obligations, carry out in-depth exchanges, and cooperation with all other countries in promoting ecological progress, and work with them to promote the sharing of best practices, and make the earth an environmentally sound homeland. I wish the conference every success. Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China. National Defense. Build up our national defense and armed forces. November 16th, 2012. Main points of the speech at an enlarged meeting of the Central Military Commission. The leading body of the Central Military Commission and the senior officers in the Army shoulder major historical responsibilities in building up our national defense and armed forces. We must remain clear-headed, cherish the achievements of past generations, draw upon the precious experiences we have accumulated, and value the progress that is already being made. We must serve the party and the people wholeheartedly and further strengthen our national defense and armed forces. Studying and applying the guiding principles of the party's 18th National Congress must be our number one political task, and we must do it well. In line with the requirements of the Party Central Committee and the Central Military Commission, a campaign should be launched promptly in the armed forces to study and apply these principles. We should continue to study the scientific outlook on development and use it to guide our work. We should study the party's guiding thoughts concerning the building of national defense and armed forces, taking the scientific outlook on development as the guiding principle in this respect, and fully understand the features and laws of the building of national defense and armed forces in the new environment. We should summarize the valuable experience gained by Chairman Hu Jintao in building our national defense and armed forces, maintain the principles he developed, and continue to implement his policies and strategic decisions. We must uphold the party's leadership of the armed forces. This is central to the nature and mission of the armed forces, the future of socialism, the enduring stability of the party, and the lasting peace of our country. It is fundamental to the existence and development of the armed forces. In our efforts to strengthen our armed forces, we must treat theoretical and political education as our first priority, so that the party's leadership of them will take firm root in the minds of our officers and soldiers, and the whole armed forces will follow, without hesitation, the commands of the Party Central Committee and the Central Military Commission at all times, and under all conditions. We must strengthen the leadership of the party over the armed forces in the aspects of theoretical and political education, and political and organizational affairs. We will apply political convictions as a measure when reviewing and appointing officers to ensure that our weaponry is always in the hands of those who are reliable and loyal to the party. We must strictly enforce discipline on those who commit errors in political or organizational affairs, safeguard the authority of the Central Committee and the Central Military Commission, and ensure the smooth implementation of their military orders. We must be able to fulfill a complete range of military tasks. The whole of the armed forces must have an in-depth understanding of the important role it has in the broad picture of China's national security and development strategies. It must put national sovereignty and security before any other consideration. Being action ready must be its major task, and it must comprehensively enhance its deterrence and combat capacity in the information age. The whole of the armed forces must attach strategic importance to military training and keep raising its real combat capacity. In line with the principle of comprehensive development, we must continue to modernize and standardize our forces and strengthen their revolutionary spirit. We will take a holistic approach to all work related to political and military matters, logistics and equipment, in order to upgrade the overall capacity of our forces. In a new environment, we must promote innovation and development of our military strategy. Use our strategy to guide our tasks in strengthening our forces, and base our policies on a military strategy of active defense. We will thoroughly apply the party's guidelines on the development of national defense and the armed forces, promote such development in a scientific manner, and strive to make real progress in transforming the mode of increasing combat effectiveness. We will press forward with the transformation of our military affairs and build a system of modern military forces with Chinese characteristics. We must carry on the glorious tradition of our military. These traditions have been developed under the leadership of Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao, and we will continue to apply them as we strive to modernize our national defense and armed forces. We will educate our officers and soldiers to intensify their ability to respond to adversity and crisis, so that their commitment will remain firm, their work determined, their morale high, and their discipline unwavering. Our officers and soldiers will maintain an indomitable, revolutionary spirit and be dauntless in combat. We will make every effort to combat corruption and promote integrity in the armed forces. Senior officers must take a clear-cut stand against corruption and set an example in abiding by the code of honest conduct. with the firm leadership of the Party Central Committee and Central Military Commission, with the strong support of the people, and with the concerted efforts of all our armed forces, we will succeed in our determined campaign to forge an ever stronger national defense and armed forces. Build strong national defense and powerful military forces. December 8th and 10th, 2012. Main points of the speech during his inspection visit to the Guangzhou Military Command. China's military forces must unite in upholding socialism with Chinese characteristics, and take Deng Xiaoping theory, the important thought of the three represents, and the scientific outlook on development as their guiding principles. The party's 18th National Congress produced a series of guidelines and defined a set of strategic measures on national defense and the development of China's military forces. These must be thoroughly and rigorously implemented. China's military must never lose sight of the fact that following the party's command is its core duty. To fight and win is its fundamental role, and to run the army strictly and in accordance with the law is key to achieving these aims. We must build a modern and standardized military dedicated to our revolutionary goals. In our efforts to strengthen our armed forces, we must treat theoretical and political education as our first priority, and ensure that our work is always done in accordance with the right political principles. We will educate our officers and soldiers in the theories of socialism with Chinese characteristics and foster their core values as contemporary, revolutionary service personnel. Footnote 1. The core values of the armed forces are loyalty to the party, love for the people, devotion to the country, dedication to the mission, and respect for honor. End of footnote 1. We will ensure that they follow the party's commands, fulfill their missions without fail, and maintain the great traditions of our armed forces. To reinforce their theoretical and political education, our forces' first responsibility is and will remain the task of studying, disseminating, and applying the guiding principles of the 18th National Congress. We must integrate study with practice and implement these guiding principles in our actions. We will enhance our combat readiness through full-scale combat simulation exercises and reinforce the belief that as soldiers, our mission is to fight, and as officers, our mission is to lead our men to victory. We must train our troops strictly and provide rigid criteria for real combat, modernize our armed forces, and enhance their capacity to fulfill diverse military tasks. The armed forces must be capable of winning regional engagements in the information age. We must follow to the letter such military practices as strictly observing discipline, executing every order, and acting in unison. The rank and file must be the focus of our work. Achieving the great renewal of the Chinese nation has become the dream of the Chinese people in modern times. This great dream we have is to make our country strong. To the military, the dream is to make our forces strong. To achieve these aims, we must strive both to enrich the country and build a strong national defense and powerful military. The armed forces must never falter in upholding the party's absolute leadership. And all service persons must be well disciplined so as to ensure that the armed forces are secure and stable. The heroic armed forces of the people will carry on its great traditions, build on past merits, so as to forge ahead to fulfill the historic responsibilities they shoulder. Build people's armed forces that follow the party's commands, are able to win battles, and have fine conduct. March 11th, 2013. Main points of the speech at the plenary meeting of the People's Liberation Army delegation during the first session of the 12th National People's Congress. Our armed forces must thoroughly implement the guiding principles of the 18th CPC National Congress. Uphold socialism with Chinese characteristics. Follow the guidance of Deng Xiaoping theory. The important thought of the three represents and the scientific outlook on development. We must firmly follow the party's goal of military development under the new circumstances and build revolutionary, modernized, and standardized people's armed forces that faithfully follow the party's commands, are able to win battles, and have fine conduct. Building such forces is the party's goal for developing the military under the new circumstances. It is essential for the military to follow the party's commands, which determines the political orientation of military development. It is vital for the military to be capable of fighting to win, which is the basic function of the military as well as the fundamental objective of its development. To have fine conduct ensures that the military demonstrates its nature, aspiration, and character. Our armed forces must understand this goal, bear it in mind in their efforts to promote military development, reform, and preparedness, and bring national defense and military development to a new level. We must ensure the absolute leadership of the party over the military that follows the commands of the party and serves the people. It must be loyal, pure, and reliable, and all its actions must be under the command of the Party Central Committee and the Central Military Commission. We must focus on the key task of building strong military forces, which are able to fight to win. Make sure that soldiers are capable of fighting, officers of commanding, and troops well trained. We must uphold combat capacity as the sole and fundamental standard for military development. We should promote our military development and preparedness to meet the needs of war, being ready to fight at all times and in all conditions. Having a fine work style is the unique feature and political advantage of our military. We must step up efforts to improve our work style, ensure good conduct in every aspect of military development and management, stay realistic, pragmatic, and results-oriented, and reinforce the basic principle of running the military strictly and in accordance with the law. In doing this, we will maintain our long-established image as the armed forces of the people. We should coordinate the development of our economic and defense capabilities and combine efforts to make the country prosperous and the military strong. We should further the great integration of military and civilian development and work to achieve in-depth integration of the use of infrastructure and other key facilities based on demands and led by the government. At the same time, we should manage the military budget well and use it properly by working hard, practicing economy, and opposing extravagance and waste, so as to put the funds to their best use. We should carry on the fine tradition of the military supporting the government and cherishing the people, while the government and the people respect the troops and provide preferential treatment to their families. We should ensure that the military and local people work together to promote material advance and cultural and ethical progress, as well as social harmony. To show concern for and support the development of national defense and the military, party committees and governments at all levels should enhance the education in national defense knowledge and popular awareness, so that the whole of society will have common understandings and joint initiatives in caring for, loving, developing, and safeguarding national defense. One country, two systems. Hong Kong, Macao, and the Chinese mainland are closely linked by destiny. December 20th, 2012, March 18th, 2013, and December 18th, 2013. Main points of talks with Leung Chun-ying, Chief Executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, and Fernando Chui Sai-on, Chief Executive of the Macao Special Administrative Region. 1. Since the new government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, HKSAR, took office, Mr. Leung Chun-ying and his team, both enterprising and pragmatic, have made many achievements. The central government affirms their efforts and will continue to support the HKSAR government in its administration in accordance with the law. People are concerned whether the policies and principles of the central government towards Hong Kong and Macau will change after the election of the new central leadership. I would like to take this opportunity to reiterate that the central government will continue to implement the policy of one country, two systems, and handle things in strict conformity with the basic law. Footnote 1. One country, two systems is a scientific concept put forward by the CPC and the Chinese government for realizing China's reunification and solving the Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macao issues. The framework of the concept is: under the premise of national reunification, the mainland keeps practicing socialism, while Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macao retain their original capitalist system and ways of life for a long time, while enjoying a high degree of autonomy. China resumed sovereignty over Hong Kong and Macao in 1997 and 1999, respectively, in accordance with this concept. End of footnote 1. There will be no change in our resolve to support the Chief Executive and the HKSAR government in their administration in accordance with the law and the performance of their duties. Nor will there be any change in our policy of supporting the Hong Kong and Macao special administrative regions in developing their economies, improving their people's well-being, and promoting democracy and harmony. The fundamental policies and principles on handling Hong Kong and Macao affairs expounded at the 18th CPC National Congress are in line with the policies and principles the central government has long adopted for the two regions. The key lies in a comprehensive and accurate understanding and implementation of the one country, two systems principle, and respect for and maintenance of the authority of the basic law. China's development is good, and splendid prospects have been unfolding before us, featuring the completion of the building of a moderately prosperous society in all respects, and the achievement of the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. As I have said, achieving the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation has been the greatest dream of the Chinese people since the advent of modern times. I believe that people in Hong Kong also hold this dream dearly. I also believe that Hong Kong people, who have a deep sense of national respect and pride, will surely make their contribution along with the people of the rest of the country to achieving the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Main points of the talk with Leung Chun-ying, Chief Executive of the HKSAR, December 20th, 2012. 2. Today is the 13th anniversary of Macao's return to the motherland. First of all, I wish to convey, through Mr. Fernando Choi Sai-on, my cordial greetings to and best wishes for Macao's people. The general situation in Macao is good. Fernando Choi Sai-on, the government of the Macao Special Administrative Region, MSAR, and people of all walks of life in Macao have been working together to maintain the prosperity, stability, and development of Macao. And the central government affirms the efforts made by Fernando Chui Sai-on and the MSAR government. The central government will, as always, implement the one country, two systems principle. The policy of Macao people governing Macao, with a high degree of autonomy and the basic law of the MSAR. Support the chief executive and the MSAR government in their administration in accordance with the law and the performance of their duties, and support the MSAR in developing its economy, improving its people's well-being, and promoting democracy and harmony. We are fully confident of the future of our country and the Chinese nation, and we firmly believe that progress will be made in all social undertakings in Macao. Main points of the talk with Fernando Chui Sai-on, Chief Executive of the MSAR, December 20th, 2012. 3. Hong Kong, Macau, and the Chinese mainland are closely linked by destiny. To realize the Chinese dream, the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, Hong Kong, Macau, and the Chinese mainland must pool and share our strength and seek common development. Moreover, the people of Hong Kong, Macau, and the Chinese mainland must help each other to make progress. Leung Chun-ying has put forward the administrative idea of seeking change while preserving stability, which has been accepted by the citizens of Hong Kong. Now, the key question lies in its implementation. It is not only a responsibility of the chief executive and the HKSAR government, but a mission relying on the joint efforts of people of all walks of life in Hong Kong. When everybody adds wood to the fire, the flames rise high. We hope that people of all walks of life in Hong Kong will unite closely to support the chief executive and the HKSAR government in administration in accordance with the law and jointly create a brighter future for Hong Kong. Macau is experiencing a relatively good time in its history, but its future development faces challenges too. We hope that the MSAR government and people of all walks of life will be keenly aware of potential problems, take advantage of favorable timing and conditions, and study and solve major problems that may hinder Macau's progress, so as to lay a solid foundation for the future development of Macau. Main points of the talk with Leung Chun-ying, Chief Executive of the HKSAR, and Fernando Chui Sai-on, Chief Executive of the MSAR, March 18th, 2013. 4. Implementing the administrative principles of seeking change while preserving stability and people's well-being first, you and the HKSAR government have focused on the resolution of major problems in economic and social development, and achieved initial results. The central government fully affirms your efforts. The third plenary session of the 18th CPC Central Committee made an overall plan on driving reform to a deeper level, which is a major strategic plan concerning China's development. According to the plan, the mainland will let the market play a decisive role in resource allocation and give better play to the government's functions, which will be conducive to the expansion of the mainland's openness to and cooperation with Hong Kong, Macao, and Taiwan. Further exchanges and cooperation between the mainland and Hong Kong, and more opportunities and scope for Hong Kong's development. The central government has been consistent and clear-cut in its stance towards universal suffrage when it comes to electing the Hong Kong chief executive in 2017. We hope that people of all walks of life in Hong Kong will build a consensus through down-to-earth consultations in accordance with the basic law and decisions of the Standing Committee of the NPC, and lay a good foundation for the universal suffrage for the election of the chief executive. Main points of the talk with Leung Chun-ying, Chief Executive of HKSAR, December 18th, 2013. 5. Macao is maintaining a good development trend. Its economy is on a steady rise. Its society is harmonious and stable, and its people live and work in peace and contentment. The central government fully affirms the efforts you and the MSAR government have made. At present, Macao should think of potential problems in times of peace and make a long-term plan. This requires the MSAR government and people of all walks of life in Macao to make continuous efforts to find out how to remain both pragmatic and innovative on the basis of Macao's rapid economic development over the past few years, how to solve problems emerging in the process of development, how to explore ways for the appropriately diversified development of Macao, and how to realize sustainable progress for it. The third plenary session of the 18th CPC Central Committee made an overall plan on driving reform to a deeper level, which is a major strategic plan concerning China's development. Robust positive energy has been gathered in all sectors across China to comprehensively advance reform further, and the people of all ethnic groups in the country are working diligently in unity for the realization of the two centenary goals and the Chinese dream of the rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. The destiny of Macao is closely linked with that of the mainland, and Macao will advance in tandem and make progress together with the mainland in their development. Main points of the talk with Fernando Chui Sai-on, Chief Executive of the MSAR, December 18th, 2013.